I smooth my dress as I walk up the familiar brick path to my parents' suburban Boston home. Sunday dinners have been a tradition since I moved into my own apartment 3 months ago, though I still consider this house partially mine. After all, my most prized possession remains here, Grandma Wilson's baby grand piano that gleams in the corner of the living room, its mahogany surface catching the late afternoon light. Felicity, there you are. Mom ushers me inside with a quick kiss on the cheek. Melody's been practicing all morning for her audition. Of course she has. The house vibrates with my sister's voice, powerful, undisciplined notes that make me wince. For someone labeled a natural talent, Melody certainly skips the fundamentals. Sounds enthusiastic. I offer, hanging my coat in the hallway closet. Dad appears from the living room, his hand extended to a man I don't recognize, tall, with wire-rimmed glasses and a leather portfolio. They're standing uncomfortably close to my piano. Who's that? I ask Mom, keeping my voice low. Oh, just a colleague of your father's. She bustles toward the kitchen. Dinner's almost ready. Go say hello to your sister. The stranger runs his hand along my piano's lid, nodding as Dad whispers something. My stomach tightens. I cross the room in quick strides. Hello, I say, extending my hand to the stranger while positioning myself between him and the piano. I'm Felicity. Martin Graves. His handshake is limp and cool. Beautiful instrument you have here. Thank you. It was my grandmother's. Dad clears his throat. Martin's from Berkeley. He's here to appraise the piano. Appraise? The word hangs in the air. Why would we need an appraisal? Melody chooses this moment to sweep into the room, sheet music clutched dramatically against her chest. At 29, my sister still dresses like she's auditioning for a community theater production of La Bohème. Felicity, did they tell you the wonderful news? She beams, tossing her sheet music onto my piano bench. I remove the music, placing it carefully on the side table. What news? Mom appears at the doorway. Let's discuss over dinner. Everything's ready. The dining room table gleams with Mom's best china, the set reserved for special occasions. A bottle of champagne chills in an ice bucket. My hand trembles slightly as I take my seat. So, Dad begins, serving the roast chicken with ceremony. We have an announcement. I glance at the stranger, Mr. Graves, who has inexplicably joined us for dinner. He studies his plate with sudden interest. Melody has been invited to compete in the European Classical Voices competition. Dad's voice swells with pride. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. That's wonderful, I say, genuinely happy for my sister despite our complicated relationship. Congratulations, Melody. Melody preens. Only 12 vocalists from North America were selected. The thing is, Mom continues, her voice taking on that practical tone I've learned to dread. The competition requires substantial funding, travel, accommodations, coaching. Dad nods. Which brings us to our decision. He places his fork down with precision. We've decided to sell the baby grand to fund Melody's competition expenses. The room tilts sideways. I grip the edge of the table. My piano? Grandma's piano? It's just sitting there, collecting dust, Mom says, not meeting my eyes. Melody's voice is a gift from God. Your piano playing is just a hobby. I am. A memory flashes my solo recital at 12, transformed last minute into Melody's showcase when she announced she'd prepared a song. My hands trembling then as they do now. That piano was Grandma's gift to me, I say, my voice quieter than intended but firm. It's not yours to sell. Dad waves his hand dismissively. Don't be selfish, Felicity. This is about the family's legacy. Melody has a real chance at an international career. I notice a business card on the sideboard behind Dad. Martin Graves, piano appraiser and broker. Not a colleague, not a casual visitor. They'd planned this ambush. How long have you been planning this? I ask. An uncomfortable silence falls. Mr. Graves studies his wine glass. We've been discussing options for weeks, Mom finally admits. Mr. Graves believes we can get $15,800 for it. Melody reaches for the champagne. Just imagine, when I win in Europe, we'll showcase my award right there, where the piano used to be. When you win, Dad echoes, raising his glass. To Melody's success. My parents beam at my sister, while I sit frozen, the meal untouched before me. All those years of practicing 5 hours daily while Melody relied on her natural talent. All those sacrifices for this moment, when they would take even my grandmother's legacy from me. Will you excuse me? I push back from the table, legs unsteady as I stand. I'm not feeling well. No one protests as I leave. In the living room, I trail my fingers across the cool ivory keys one last time, a whispered promise forming in my mind. This isn't over. They want my voice silenced. But they've forgotten who taught me to play. I can't sleep that night. My mind replays dinner like a horror film on loop. Dad's casual dismissal, Mom's cold practicality, Melody's smug smile. At 3 in the morning, I give up and wander downstairs, drawn to the piano one last time. My fingers hover over the keys without pressing. Playing would wake everyone, and right now, I need the house silent. Instead, I trace the grain of the wood, memorizing its patterns in the moonlight. Dad's study door stands ajar, unusual for him. The family computer glows with screensaver fish swimming in electronic circles. I shouldn't, but tonight, something rebellious stirs within me. 3 clicks and I'm in his email. The subject line jumps out immediately. Piano valuation. Lowball. Offer accepted. The email chain stretches back 2 months. 2 months they've been planning this? My stomach tightens as I scroll through message after message, each one a fresh wound. We need to move quickly before Felicity realizes what's happening. Dad wrote to Mr. Graves 3 weeks ago. I've researched comparable instruments, Mr. Graves replied. This model typically sells for $18,900, -$22,400, but I can offer $15,800 as discussed. My hand trembles on the mouse. They deliberately sought a lowball offer, $6,600 below market value. Another email from Melody to Dad. Felicity won't make a scene. She never stands up for herself. I'm no longer cold. Heat crawls up my neck, burning behind my eyes. In the bottom drawer of Dad's desk, beneath a stack of insurance papers, I find the official appraisal. Mr. Graves had valued the piano at $21,900 privately, before offering less. Everyone knew except me. The floor creaks behind me. I whirl around, clutching the papers. You shouldn't be in here. Uncle James stands in the doorway, hair rumpled from sleep. He glances at the appraisal in my hand, but makes no move to take it. He was not present at the dinner, and came later. He will also sleep here. Now I am waiting for his next step as well. They lied about everything. My voice sounds strange, tight with anger I rarely express. Your father has always believed Melody deserves every advantage, he says carefully, even at your expense. Did you know? Uncle James looks away. His silence is answer enough. Morning arrives with forced normalcy. Mom bustles around the kitchen making pancakes as if yesterday never happened. Dad reads his newspaper. Melody hums scales by the window. Sleep well? Mom asks, sliding pancakes onto my plate. I set the fork down without eating. I found the emails. The kitchen goes still. Dad's newspaper lowers slowly. You went through my computer? His voice rises with manufactured outrage. You went behind my back to sell my piano. I match his tone. A piano worth $21,900 that you're selling for $15,800. Melody rolls her eyes. You're just being dramatic. It's what you do. Mom touches my arm with practiced tenderness. Sweetie, sometimes family means making sacrifices. When you were little, we spent so much on your piano lessons. Now it's Melody's turn. The manipulation is so transparent I almost laugh. I'm giving you one chance to reconsider. Dad's face hardens. This isn't a negotiation, Felicity. The decision is made. The doorbell interrupts before I can respond. Dad welcomes Mr. Graves, who carries a folder of papers. They settle at the dining table with fresh coffee. I stand in the doorway, watching Dad sign the preliminary sales agreement. Just need to take final measurements today, Mr. Graves says, moving toward my piano. It's in exceptional condition. The buyer will be thrilled. While they're distracted measuring, I grab my phone and casually snap photos of the agreement. Date, terms, signatures, everything captured in high resolution. The house phone rings. Mom answers, then holds it out to me with surprise. It's Professor Harrington. My piano professor rarely calls. I take the phone into the kitchen. Felicity. Her warm voice steadies me. I wanted to tell you personally, your audition recording was extraordinary. The committee has selected you for the advanced performance track. I glance at my family in the next room, huddled around my piano like vultures. I didn't think I was good enough. Not good enough? You were the top choice. You have remarkable talent, Felicity. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. After hanging up, I text Sarah, my best friend who's in her second year of law school. Family selling my grandmother's piano without permission. Need legal advice as soon as possible. Her response is immediate. They can't sell what isn't legally theirs. Does your grandmother's will specify the piano is yours? I don't know, but I'll find out. Later, walking to clear my head, I run into Mr. Peterson, watering his roses. At 82, my elderly neighbor still has the sharp eyes of the music store owner he once was. Trouble at home? He asks, noting my expression. I explain the situation. He leans on his cane, considering. First, get proof of the piano's true value. Second, check who legally owns it. Third, secure it physically if possible. His advice is practical, experienced. And Felicity? Sometimes the quietest people make the loudest statements when pushed too far. As I turn to leave, Uncle James approaches from across the street. He glances around before speaking. You might want to talk to someone about ownership of that piano, he says quietly. Your grandmother was very specific about her wishes. The gift letter is still in her safe deposit box. He presses a key into my palm. Box 247, First National. For the first time since dinner last night, I feel something besides anger, the stirring of hope. They thought I wouldn't fight back. They were wrong. A week has passed, and I found my grandma's will and started verifying everything, as I will not allow my parents take her legacy away. At my apartment, I ensure the proper plan and every detail on how to prevent selling the piano. The invitation sits on my kitchen counter, its embossed lettering catching the morning light. A special celebration dinner for Melody's European journey, it reads. Mom called yesterday to ensure I received it, her voice brimming with excitement that barely masked the assumption I would attend without question. I arrive at my parents' house Monday evening next week to find Mother in the living room, methodically emptying the antique sheet music cabinet beside my piano. What are you doing? I ask, watching, as she stacks my carefully organized collections into cardboard boxes. Just making space for Melody's competition materials. She doesn't look up. This cabinet will be perfect for displaying her awards when she returns. I notice Chopin's Nocturnes, my first advanced piece, already sealed in a box labeled storage. My grandmother's handwritten notes still mark the margins. Those are mine, I say, reaching for the box. Mother intercepts my hand. Felicity, don't start. Your father has scheduled the piano removal for Friday. 4 days. That's all we're asking you to accept gracefully. 4 days. The timeline punches the air from my lungs. In the living room, Melody runs through vocal exercises, her hands splayed across my piano's lid in a territorial claim. A half-empty coffee cup sits on the polished surface, leaving a wet ring on the mahogany. Could you please use a coaster? I ask, sliding a cloth beneath the cup. Melody rolls her eyes. It's not like it matters now. Her casual dismissal ignites something in me, a spark of resistance I haven't allowed myself to feel. I close my eyes and hear Grandma Wilson's voice, clear as the high C note she taught me to play when I was 7. This piano is yours to protect, Felicity. It's your voice when words fail. The memory washes over me. Grandma guiding my small hands across the keys, her patience never wavering through countless hours of practice. True strength isn't loud, she told me once. It's the quiet persistence that changes the world, one note at a time. Carry-ons. While Melody relied on raw talent, I built discipline. When she skipped practice to attend parties, I refined techniques until my fingers ached. While she expected applause, I earned every moment of recognition through persistence. I've always been the strong one. Mother bustles into the kitchen, leaving me alone with the instrument that shaped my life. I trail my fingers across the keys, not pressing down, just feeling their cool familiarity beneath my skin. I will not let my voice be silenced again. The next morning, as I sleep again at the house, I call Robert Jennings, a certified piano appraiser recommended by my professor. By afternoon, he's examining every detail of the baby grand. Beautiful instrument, he says, measuring the soundboard. Well-maintained, remarkable tone. I'd value this at $15,800. I thank him and accept his official appraisal document, the same value Mr. Graves quoted, though I suspect he planned to offer my parents much less. From there, I visit Hartford Insurance. The agent seems puzzled when I request personal property coverage specifically for the piano. Moving it soon? She asks. Protecting what's mine, I answer, providing the appraisal and my identification. My friend Sarah meets me for coffee after her law classes. Her dark eyes narrow as I explain the situation. They can't legally sell what isn't theirs, she says, pulling out her laptop. Do you have anything proving your grandmother gave it specifically to you? Not yet, I admit, but I'm working on it. Sarah begins typing. Let me draft something. We'll need documentation of ownership and transfer of property. Even without the original gift documentation, we can establish your claim. While Sarah works, I research the European Classical Voices competition on my phone. The eligibility requirements state all contestants must have completed advanced vocal training with documented professional performances. Melody has neither. They're selling my piano for a competition she isn't qualified for, I whisper. Sarah looks up. That changes things. By Thursday, my network mobilizes. Professor Abernathy provides a letter documenting my 5 years of advanced study, emphasizing my exceptional talent and dedication to preserving classical piano traditions. Mr. Peterson, my elderly neighbor who owned a music store for 40 years, introduces me to Martin Coleman, a piano restoration expert who documents the instrument's condition and confirms its value. Your grandmother bought this from my father's shop in 1968, Mr. Peterson reveals. I remember the day she brought you in, barely tall enough to reach the keys. The most surprising ally emerges Thursday night. Uncle James arrives for the pre-celebration dinner carrying an envelope. Found this while clearing some old files, he says, slipping it to me in the hallway. Thought you might need it. Inside is a yellowed letter in my grandmother's handwriting, dated 3 years before her death. To my granddaughter Felicity, I bequeath my Steinway baby grand piano, to be hers alone, as she has shown the dedication and love this instrument deserves. I slide the letter into my purse as dinner begins. Father raises his glass to Melody. Mother distributes brochures of European landmarks. The piano sits in the corner, already stripped of family photographs. After dinner, when the house quiets and family retreats to their rooms, I return to the living room. The piano waits, moonlight streaming across its polished surface. I sit at the bench, place my hands on the keys, and begin. Chopin's revolutionary etude pours from my fingers all the frustration, determination, and strength I've buried, finding voice through the thundering bass and lightning treble runs. I play as I never have before, each note a declaration. Footsteps in the hallway. I don't stop. The living room lights flick on. I don't stop. My family gathers in the doorway, but I play on, lost in the storm of sound I'm creating. When the final chord fades, silence hangs heavy in the room. I look up to find my parents staring, my father's mouth slightly open. Melody stands behind them, an unfamiliar expression crossing her face, and respect, quickly replaced by something darker. I didn't know you could play like that, Mother says quietly. You never listened, I answered, closing the piano lid with gentle finality. Father clears his throat. Felicity, perhaps we should discuss. There's nothing to discuss, I say, standing. This piano isn't for sale. I walk past them toward the guest room, my grandmother's letter secure in my pocket. They see me now, finally. But it's too late to change my plans. Tomorrow, I will reclaim what's mine. On Friday, the living room feels like a theater stage, with the sunlight streaming through the bay window, illuminating the piano as if it's under a spotlight. Mr. Graves has returned, his leather portfolio thicker this time. Mother hovers nearby, pretending to dust while Father and Mr. Graves speak in hushed tones. 12,800. Mr. Graves announces, sliding a document across the coffee table. My final offer. Father's face flushes crimson. That's absurd. We discussed $15,800 last time. Market conditions have changed, Mr. Graves replies with a shrug. I have expenses to consider. I sit quietly on the window seat, a folder hidden beneath my notebook as I pretend to study. These last days of preparation have armed me with everything I need, the appraisal documents, insurance papers, and most importantly, Grandma's gift letter that Uncle James delivered yesterday with a knowing wink. 14,100 is our bottom line, Father insists, his voice rising. This is a Wilson baby grand, for heaven's sake. Mother shoots him a warning glance. Perhaps we should discuss privately, dear. There's nothing to discuss. Either he meets our price, or we find another buyer. I almost smile. Their greed is buying me time I desperately need. Later that afternoon, Mother corners me in the kitchen. Your piano professor called me back today. My stomach tightens. Oh? She seemed quite concerned about your attitude. Mother's voice drips with false concern. Said you were being unreasonable about a family decision. I focus on stirring my tea, knowing my professor would never betray me. Is that what she said? She understands what this opportunity means for Melody. The lie hangs between us. I know exactly what the professor told her, that I've shown exceptional talent and dedication. that the piano rightfully belongs to me. Father strides into the kitchen, cell phone in hand. I've just spoken with Pastor Williams. If this situation isn't resolved by Sunday, we'll donate the piano to the church. The spoon clatters against the mug. You would rather give it away than let me keep it? At least it would serve a purpose, he says, rather than being a selfish symbol of your obstinance. I take a measured sip of tea. That's not your decision to make. My calm response visibly unsettles him. He expected tears or pleading, not this new version of me who meets his gaze without flinching. Melody floats in wearing a floor-length floral dress, sheet music clutched dramatically to her chest. Beth, we need to talk. She leads me to the living room, positioning herself beside the piano. This competition could change my entire life, she says, voice trembling perfectly. I've worked so hard for this chance. Have you? I ask softly. What's that supposed to mean? When was the last time you practiced your competition pieces? Her mouth opens, then closes. The theatrical tears vanish. They're changing the moving date, I say, to Sunday. Melody's eyes widen. How did you know that? I heard Father on the phone earlier. What I don't tell her is that it doesn't matter. They can change dates all they want, the movers will still need my signature as the piano's legal owner. When Mr. Graves returns the next morning with contract revisions, I'm ready. Father calls me into the living room, his voice overly cheerful. Mr. Graves has some paperwork for us, Felicity. For you? I correct gently. Mr. Graves adjusts his glasses. Actually, I'll need documentation of ownership before proceeding. Standard procedure for instruments of this value. Father waves dismissively. That's not necessary. This is a family matter. I'm afraid it is necessary, Mr. Graves insists. There have been unfortunate situations in the past with disputed ownership. Father's confident smile falters. The piano belongs to the family. That's not what Grandma's will stated, I say quietly. The room goes silent. Mother's dusting cloth freezes mid-polish. What did you say? Father asks. Before I can answer, Uncle James walks in carrying a casserole dish. Lasagna from Aunt Judith, he announces, then pauses to survey the scene. Did I interrupt something? Just discussing the piano sale, Mother says tightly. Uncle James sets down the dish and studies the baby grand thoughtfully. Beautiful instrument. Wonder what Mom would think about selling Beth's piano. Father shoots him a warning look. This isn't your concern, James. Family matters are always my concern, Uncle James replies mildly, especially when they involve Mom's wishes. That evening, the first real cracks appear. Through the heating vent in my bedroom floor, I hear Melody complaining downstairs. The competition schedule is so demanding. I'll need at least 5 hours of practice daily. Then perhaps you should start practicing, Father snaps, his patience clearly fraying. Richard! Mother gasps. Well, it's true. She's had the sheet music for weeks. You're the one who said my natural talent would carry me through, Melody protests. Talent without work is worthless, Father mutters. Later, their voices drift up again as I lie in bed. $15,000, Martha. That's what we're destroying this family over. It's not about the money, Mother argues. It's about Melody's future. Is it? Because frankly, I'm not convinced she even wants this competition. When was the last time you actually heard her practicing those pieces? I turn my pillow over to the cool side and close my eyes, allowing myself a small smile. The foundation is cracking beneath them, and for once, I'm not the one crumbling. Tomorrow, everything changes. On Sunday, the grandfather clock in the foyer strikes 4 as I smooth my skirt and take a steadying breath. Through the dining room doorway, I can see them waiting, Mom and Dad at opposite ends of the table. Melody fidgeting with her water glass. Mr. Graves reviewing papers with another man in work clothes. The movers, I realize. They've brought movers today. Felicity, we were just about to start without you. Dad waves me in with forced cheerfulness. Come join us for this special family moment. I slide into my usual chair, noting how they've positioned me directly across from Mr. Graves. A power move. The dining room table gleams with the good china again, though no one has bothered to set a place for the movers, who stand awkwardly by the sideboard. Dad clears his throat and slides a document toward me with theatrical flourish. Let's make this official. Mr. Graves has been more than patient with our family discussions. The sales contract sits before me, Dad's fountain pen resting atop the signature line. My name isn't anywhere on the document. Just his. 15,000, Mom says, her voice softening to the tone she uses when she wants something. That money will open doors for your sister that we simply cannot afford otherwise. This is for my future, Felicity. Melody reaches across the table to touch my hand. Her nails are freshly manicured, her expression practiced. Sometimes art requires sacrifices. I slip my hand away. You've never sacrificed anything for your art. Mom gasps. Dad's mouth tightens into a thin line. Now listen here, he begins. No. The word comes out quietly but stops him mid-sentence. You listen. I reach into my bag and remove 3 sealed envelopes, placing them on the table with deliberate care. The room falls silent as I slide them forward, one by one. A certified appraisal valuing Grandma's piano at $15,800. I tap the first envelope. Insurance documentation in my name only. I tap the second. And Grandma's gift letter, specifying the piano was left to me, not to the family. Mr. Graves picks up the appraisal, his eyes widening slightly as he reviews the professional assessment. The mover shifts his weight from one foot to the other. The piano isn't for sale, I say, my voice steadier than I've ever heard it. It never was yours to sell. Dad's face flushes crimson. He snatches the gift letter, scanning it quickly, then again more slowly. The paper trembles in his hands. You went behind our backs? Mom's voice pitches higher. After everything we've done for you? I learned from watching you. The words hang in the air between us. 3 months of planning this sale without telling me. Emails about how I'd never make a scene. Melody's eyes dart toward the door as if calculating an escape route. Uncle James, who has been silent in the corner, gives me a nearly imperceptible nod. Mr. Graves, I say, turning to the appraiser, I appreciate your professional interest, but as you can see, this sale would be legally questionable at best. The man closes his portfolio with a snap. I don't involve myself in family disputes. Call me if you sort this out. He nods to the movers, who follow him toward the front door without a backward glance. How dare you embarrass us like this? Dad pushes back from the table, his chair scraping across the hardwood floor. After everything we've invested in your lessons, your education. I'm going back to my apartment, I interrupt, standing to match his height. The piano comes with me. His laugh is sharp, dismissive. And how exactly will you afford that without our support? Your little teaching gigs barely cover your coffee budget. The corner of my mouth lifts in what might be my first genuine smile in this house for years. The Archer Foundation disagrees. I've been awarded their full merit scholarship. Mom's teacup clatters against its saucer. You applied without telling us? Like mother, like daughter, I answer. I applied 6 months ago without my family knowing, as they never valued me anyways. Now I will show them. Melody suddenly pushes away from the table, her composure cracking. You don't understand what it's like. Her voice rises, no longer the practiced soprano but raw and breaking. Everyone expects me to be this prodigy, but you, she gestures wildly toward me. You actually care about music. I've just been playing a role my whole life. The confession hangs in the stunned silence. Dad stares at Melody as if seeing her for the first time. The movers will be back tomorrow, I say, gathering my documents. For the piano this time, not against it. I walk past my silent parents, past my sister frozen in her unexpected moment of truth, past Uncle James who whispers well played as I pass. In the living room, I pause at the piano, my piano, and run my fingers lightly across the keys. For the first time, the notes sound like freedom. Uncle James follows me to the front porch, closing the door softly behind him. The evening air carries the scent of Mrs. Patterson's roses from next door. The neighborhood seems strangely unchanged, despite everything that just happened inside. Your grandmother would be proud, he says, joining me on the top step. She never let anyone silence her either. I didn't know that about her. He smiles. Why do you think she left the piano specifically to you? She recognized something in you that your parents have always missed. A car door slams as Mr. Graves drives away, the movers following in their truck. The rumble of engines fades into the distance. What happens now? I ask, suddenly uncertain despite my victory. Uncle James considers this. Now you get to discover who you are when you're not fighting to be heard. I glance back at the house. Through the window, I can see Mom with her arm around Melody, whose shoulders shake with sobs. Dad stands apart, staring at nothing, the gift letter still clutched in his hand. Will they forgive me? The question slips out before I can stop it. Eventually, Uncle James says, but that's not the real question. He turns to face me fully. The real question is whether you'll forgive them. I don't have an answer yet. Instead, I think about my small apartment waiting across town, about the empty corner by the window where sunlight streams in each morning. The perfect spot for a piano. I should go, I say, standing up straighter. I have arrangements to make. Need help? Uncle James asks. I shake my head. No, this part I need to do myself. As I walk to my car, my steps feel lighter. Behind me, the house that was once my anchor now seems smaller somehow. Ahead of me stretches a future I've written myself, note by careful note. The piano fits perfectly in the corner of my apartment, sunlight from the bay window highlighting the freshly polished mahogany. 3 months since I claimed what was rightfully mine and moved out of my parents' house. The instrument seems to breathe easier here. So do I. I run my fingers across the keys without pressing down, feeling the cool ivory beneath my fingertips. The restoration expert did remarkable work. Every note rings true now, the slightly uneven action of the keys corrected, the soundboard resonating with new vigor. Like me, the piano needed space to find its voice again. The letter sits on top of the piano, its official letterhead catching the morning light. The Boston Chamber Music Society invites me to perform at their spring showcase. My first solo recital since graduating, recognition on my own terms, without family connections or obligations. You earned this. I whisper to myself, still learning to accept compliments, even from my own voice. The doorbell rings, and I find Uncle James standing there, a weathered leather satchel tucked under his arm. I found these while cleaning out my storage unit, he says, placing the satchel gently on my coffee table. Thought they belonged with you now. Inside are 5 leather-bound journals, my grandmother's elegant handwriting filling each page with musical notations, practice techniques, and personal reflections on pieces she mastered. She kept journals her entire career, Uncle James explains, his voice soft with remembrance. These were from her teaching years. I trace my finger along her handwritten notes on Debussy's phrasing. Thank you. Later that week, a young girl named Emma sits beside me at the piano, her small fingers working through scales with determined concentration. Teaching wasn't part of my plan, but when Mr. Peterson recommended me to a colleague's granddaughter, something clicked. Now I have 6 students, each bringing their own relationship with music into my home. That's it, I encourage as Emma masters a difficult transition. Let the melody breathe. After she leaves, Sarah arrives with takeout and champagne. To celebrate your first paid gig at the Gardiner Museum, she announces, popping the cork with a satisfying thunk. I told you standing your ground would pay off. It still feels surreal, I admit, accepting the plastic cup of bubbling champagne, having space that's truly mine. The following Sunday, my phone lights up with a text from my mother, the 5th in as many weeks. The previous 4 went unanswered, but this one catches my attention. We'd like to visit, just to talk. Melody too. Uncle James calls that evening. They're trying, he says when I mention the text, in their own way. And Kodavizakapi. Are they? I ask, uncertain. Melody's been taking actual lessons, real technique work. Your father mentioned she practices 2 hours daily now. I consider this as I flip through Grandma's journals before bed. Her words from decades ago speak directly to me. Music isn't about competition. It's about finding your authentic voice. 6 months after leaving home, I welcome my family into my apartment. The tension is palpable, but different now, tempered with something new. Respect, perhaps. This is lovely, Mom says, her eyes traveling to the piano. It belongs here. After dinner, I sit at the piano without being asked. I play a piece I've been composing, inspired by these months of transition. When Melody begins to hum along, finding harmonies that complement rather than overpower the melody, I don't stop her. Our parents watch with quiet appreciation, seeing both daughters clearly for perhaps the first time. When they leave, I return to the piano, the apartment peaceful in their absence. I place my hands on the keys my grandmother once played, the setting sun casting golden light across the polished wood. I begin playing Clair de Lune, letting each note hang in the air before moving to the next. Sometimes the quietest voice carries the strongest melody.